Hello and welcome to this exciting update of my Lego project, where we're building a historic bank and adding it to the old city center of my town. In my previous video, we completed the exterior walls of the ground floor, and now we're continuing with the rest of the building. We start by designing the entrance hall where customers and employees enter. Since this is going to be a classic old-fashioned bank, a grand spiral staircase is a must. You can see in the footage how I designed it, and I think the result turned out great, don't you agree? The staircase needed some support, so I secured the top section to the wall of the building. Now that the staircase is in place, we move on to the teller counter. Here, two employees sit safely behind bars while doing their work, because security is a top priority in a bank. I built the counter using an old-style barred window design, just like you'd find in historic banks. This really gives it that classic look you often see in movies featuring buildings like this. I left a small opening between the bars so employees can hand over the necessary paperwork to customers. Of course, the gap is narrow enough to ensure that no one can squeeze through in case of a robbery. We position the two bank employees at their desks and move on to the next essential feature that no bank can go without: ATMs. I designed two cash machines that will be placed in the corners of the building. The lobby is also furnished with a comfortable seating area, including a couch, a table, and two chairs. This allows the banker to have private conversations with customers and persuade them to deposit as much money as possible into their accounts. Now that the interior is set up, it's time to finish the floor using light brown and white tiles. This gives it a classic, luxurious look. This is a technique I often use for tiling my floors. It requires a lot of bricks, but in my opinion, it's absolutely worth it. As loyal viewers of my channel know, I finish all the buildings in my city with tiles to ensure that no studs are visible, just like in the real world, where you wouldn't see them either. A fully tiled floor makes such a difference, doesn't it? The bank is really coming to life, and this is just the beginning. So stay tuned, because there's so much more amazing stuff coming. Now that all the elements are in place, it's time to bring the space to life even more by adding minifigures. We start with the banker, who is sitting on the couch, talking to two potential clients interested in investing their money after being convinced by his pitch. We also place a customer at the counter asking the tellers a question, and another one withdrawing cash from one of the ATMs. The combination of detailed elements, the finished floor, and the minifigures truly makes the space feel alive. You immediately get the sense that you're inside a real bank. Personally, I think the staircase adds a lot of character to the build, and I will definitely be using this technique more often in my future projects. Do you think anything is still missing in the bank's entrance hall? Let me know in the comments so I can add it. Now that the ground floor is complete, we move on to constructing the rest of the building. This will be a tall structure with a total of 3 floors. As you can see in the footage, all floors are built on a white base, which provides a nice contrast to the light gray and reddish-brown bricks of the exterior walls. For the building's exterior, I used a classic technique where the corners and window frames feature a different brick pattern, just like you often see in historic buildings from this period. I also incorporated curved shapes to add extra charm, and I used 2x2 stud windows, which give the structure much more character than large glass panels would. I also incorporated several recesses to add more detail to the building. I've designed many rectangular buildings in the past, so I wanted to experiment with rounded shapes this time. I decided to create a rounded corner, making the structure stand out from the surrounding buildings. This was a challenge, but it adds a unique effect, don't you think? Now that the exterior of the second floor is complete, it's time to stack both floors together. You can already start to see how the final building will look, but it's going to get even better because we're adding another floor and a spectacular rooftop. The third floor follows a similar design as the second, but is noticeably shorter. This was intentional to prevent the building from towering over the train station, which I want to remain the main eye-catcher of the historic city district. I haven't furnished the second and third floors yet, so I'm open to suggestions on what should be included in a bank building. My idea was to create a large vault where customers can securely store their cash. You know, those classic vault rooms from movies, where criminals stash piles of money and can only access them under the supervision of a bank employee who unlocks the door. Do you have other ideas? Let me know in the comments, but not before we finish building the entire structure. As you can see in the footage, I finished the top of each floor with tiles, leaving only a few connection points. This makes it easy to stack and separate the floors whenever needed. Now that the third floor is complete, it's time to stack all three sections together so we can move on to the roof. Doesn't it already look like an imposing building? Let's keep going because it's only going to get better. For the roof, I chose dark red roof tiles with white windows and small dormers positioned above each window on the third floor. These extra details really enhance the charm and authenticity of an old building like this. As you can see in the footage, I don't always plan the exact design of the roof beforehand. It evolves as I build. I'm a visually oriented person, and this is just how I work. You can clearly see how I support the roof tiles using bricks and colors that I don't often use. These are perfect for structural support since they won't be visible from the outside. We finish it off with light brown tiles, and now we can finally admire the finished result. The roof is a total of 4 bricks high, which required a lot of dark red roof tiles, but I'm definitely happy with the result. As you can see in the footage, the corners aren't finished with corner bricks like I usually do on my other roofs, but don't worry. I ordered these bricks from Lego.com, but unfortunately, orders from their site always take more than a week to arrive. Definitely a frustrating wait if you ask me. I also found a creative way to finish off the rounded corner structure of the building. With the roof now placed on the building, we can finally see how the entire structure has come together. But make sure to keep watching, because once this building is placed in the city, it's going to look even better. As you can see, I continued the red-brown brick patterns in the corners, but intentionally left them out around the windows. While I'm generally happy with how it turned out, I decided to make a few small adjustments to the roof and windows to refine the design. I replaced the white dormer windows on the roof with light gray dormers, matching the style of the gray exterior walls. In my opinion, this subtle change makes the building look even better. Additionally, I added gold-colored barred window grills to the windows for extra security against break-ins. After all, this is a bank. This small detail adds so much character to the building that I'm really happy I decided to make these changes. Now that the building is complete, it's finally time to add it to the city. In my opinion, it turned out exactly as I had hoped and fits perfectly with the surrounding historic buildings. Of course, we also finished the area around the bank with light gray tiles and add a luxurious water fountain to enhance the prestigious look of the building, just as you'd expect from a bank like this. We also placed 2 planter boxes against the walls, adding some greenery before moving on to securing the building. Since a large amount of money is stored inside, proper security is a must. To ensure safety, I designed a camera pole with 2 security cameras, each monitoring one of the building's entrances. At each entrance of the building, security guards stand watch to protect the bank and stop any potential robbers. You definitely don't want to mess with these guys. Now that all the exterior details have been added, it's time to view the finished result from different angles and see how it blends with the rest of the city's buildings. I intentionally chose a light gray and red-brown masonry brick exterior because it complements both the train station and the large gray building on the other side of the marketplace. The rounded corner design and the dark red roof also complement the rest of the predominantly rectangular buildings in the city. I'm really happy with my decision to replace the parking spaces on this side of the city with 2 large buildings, and the first one has already turned out to be a great success. It expands this historic district and truly gives you the feeling of walking through a grand city. In my next video, I'll continue designing the interior of the remaining 2 floors. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm open to suggestions. Let me know in the comments what you think must be included in the bank's upper floors. But before you go, I have something important to ask. Do you want to know how I come up with all my designs and how I buy my Lego pieces as cheaply as possible? Become a channel member and get exclusive access to content that only members can see. This way, you can start building the Lego city of your dreams. So subscribe to my channel, become a member, and I'll see you in the next update.